So, Apple is quietly doing something this year that nobody who's buying a $999 phone is going to be happy about. The standard iPhone 18 is not coming in September. It's reportedly getting pushed to spring 2027, which means if you walk into an Apple store this fall expecting to grab the base model, it's just not there. Gone. The shelf where it used to live is now occupied by a $999 floor. And here's the part that actually got me. Buried inside all the leak chaos is one upgrade on the iPhone 18 Pro that almost nobody is talking about. And it might be the single most important hardware change Apple has made in years. We're going to get into all of it. Right now, we're in full leak season for the iPhone 18 lineup. Leakers, analysts, supply chain sources, they're all talking. And the picture that's forming is honestly one of the more interesting years Apple has had in a while, not because of the flashy stuff, but because of a shift happening underneath the surface. There are consistent reports that Apple is making a major shift from its usual iPhone release schedule in 2026. In September, Apple will reportedly only release the high-end models, the iPhone 18 Pro, Pro Max, the new foldable iPhone, and perhaps an updated iPhone Air. So the lineup is getting restructured. The Pro models go first, everyone else waits, and there's one spec buried in the iPhone 18 Pro that I genuinely think changes how you use your phone every single day. And it has nothing to do with the camera or the display. We'll get there. Let's start with the elephant in the room. The base model iPhone 18 will wait until spring 2027, and that means every iPhone Apple sells in September 2026 will have a price tag of $999 or more. Read that again. $999 minimum. While the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are scheduled for their traditional September window, the standard iPhone 18 and the new budget 18e models will be held back for a spring 2027 release. This Pro-first strategy aims to maintain high demand for Apple's most advanced hardware during the holiday season. So let me translate that from corporate speak. Apple wants to sell you the expensive thing at Christmas. Makes sense for Apple. Less sense for the person who just wants a new iPhone without taking out a small personal loan. Now, here's where it gets slightly messy. There's actually a leak battle happening about the iPhone Air 2. The leaker Fixed Focus Digital has been one of the main sources pushing back on reports that Apple's next-gen iPhone Air has been delayed into 2027. Reporting from the information said the iPhone Air 2 was being pushed until at least spring 2027 to give Apple time to add a second rear camera. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman agreed with the spring 2027 timing, but was skeptical that a second camera would be added. But then Fixed Focus Digital has on two previous occasions claimed that the iPhone Air 2 will actually launch this fall alongside iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone Fold. He's also said it's a routine upgrade with no big changes like a second camera. And his latest post confirms Apple is still moving forward with that plan. So we've got two credible camps. One says Air 2 is coming this fall. One says it's delayed to 2027. Both have sources. Both sound confident. Honestly, pick your leaker. This is what happens when you report on phones that don't exist yet. What we do know for sure, if you're not buying Pro this fall, you're waiting. That's the clearest signal from every source right now. Okay, so let's talk about what the Pro is actually getting. Because on paper, this looks like a spec bump, but a couple of things here are actually genuinely interesting. Starting with the chip. At the center of expectations is the A20 Pro, built on a cutting-edge 2-nanometer process, promising better speed and efficiency compared to previous generations. The A20 is also rumored to use a new packaging technique to incorporate the RAM directly into the chip package. It's not entirely clear what the full benefit will be, But more tightly integrated RAM can mean more memory bandwidth, lower latency latency, and better power efficiency. Most likely, a typical Apple leap in efficiency with behind the scenes gains rather than dramatic changes you feel on day one. Translation: it'll be faster, you won't feel it on day one. You'll feel it in 2 years when your friends' phones slow down and yours doesn't. Next, the display. Since its introduction on the iPhone 14 Pro, the dynamic island has been the center of Apple's front display identity. But leaked schematics and prototype images suggest the iPhone 18 Pro will feature a 35% reduction in the island's footprint. It reportedly made possible by moving several Face ID components beneath the display panel 35% smaller. That's not subtle. While the selfie camera remains in a small circular punch hole, the surrounding interactive pill will be much narrower, reclaiming screen real estate that developers are already planning to use for expanded status bar notifications. And the camera, the main 48 megapixel fusion camera on both the iPhone 18 Pro models, is rumored to have a variable aperture, which would allow users to control the amount of light that passes through the lens and reaches the sensor. Variable aperture is a feature typically reserved for professional cameras. In practical terms, it means users could control how much light enters the lens, allowing for more dramatic depth of field effects and significantly better low light photography. So that's actually a real camera person feature, not a spec sheet checkbox. A variable aperture means your phone starts behaving more like a proper camera body and less like a very confident point and shoot. Battery. Battery life stands out as a major highlight, especially for the iPhone 18 Pro Max. Leakers report a capacity jump to somewhere between 5,100 and 5,200 milliamp hours, the largest ever in an iPhone. Some projections suggest up to 40 hours of mixed use on a single charge. 40 hours, that's not a phone battery, that's an audacity. All right, this is the part I actually wanted to talk about. Everyone's going to cover the dynamic island getting smaller. Everyone's going to talk about the camera, but here's what's wild. The upgrade that's going to affect your daily life the most is one that you'll never see, never touch, and probably never notice when it's working correctly. The modem, I know. Stay with me. No, stay. Apple's custom C1 cellular modem for 5G debuted in the iPhone 16e. Then the C1X chip came in the iPhone Air. And Apple says the C1X modem is up to twice as fast as the C1 and the most power-efficient modem ever put in an iPhone. The improvements are expected to continue with Apple's third-generation C2 modem in the iPhone 18 Pro models. Apple's next-generation C2 modem is expected to arrive in 2026, debuting in the iPhone 18 Pro lineup. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Gurman also said Apple is already testing the C2's successor and the C3, which is expected in 2027. And by that point, Apple hopes it will outdo Qualcomm's modem capabilities. Read that again. Apple's goal is to outdo Qualcomm, the company that has been building modems for decades. And Apple is only 2 generations into their first attempt. But here's why the C2 specifically matters right now. The C2 could feature millimeter wave 5G connectivity and will be closer in overall performance to the Qualcomm modem chips it replaces. But the headline feature, Apple's C2 modem, could add support for 5G satellite connectivity, a standard called a NR-NTN, which stands for New Radio Non-Terrestrial Networks. This can relate to direct phone-to-satellite links as well as using satellites as backhaul to extend coverage into remote areas, potentially allowing the iPhone 18 Pro to offer full internet access over satellite, supplementing 5G networks when standard networks are unavailable. Full internet over satellite, not just emergency SOS, actual internet. Apple is reportedly planning to allow third-party apps to access a satellite connection. Apple Maps and the Photos app could work over satellite too. So you're in a dead zone, no bars, and you can still pull up maps, upload a photo, maybe even load a web page. That's not a spec, and that's a behavior change. That's the phone working in places it literally couldn't work before. And here's what nobody mentions when they talk about modems. A bad modem kills your battery. You've had those days where you had full bars and your phone was at 30% by noon for no obvious reason. That's the modem working overtime trying to hold a signal. A more efficient modem means fewer of those days, longer battery, less anxiety, less hunting for an outlet at 2 p.m. The modem is boring to talk about, but it's the thing that makes everything else actually work. So let's zoom out for a second, because here's the real tension in all of this. The more expensive iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max will launch in fall 2026 as usual. But the more affordable iPhone 18 and iPhone 18e won't come out until spring 2027. Customers who want to upgrade during the standard fall timeline will need to opt for one of the more expensive models. Those who want a better deal will have to wait. That's the decision sitting in front of millions of people this fall. Do you pay Pro prices, $999 minimum, to stay on the new cycle? Or do you wait until spring 2027 and get a base iPhone 18 that, based on leaks, will see virtually no changes to its exterior design anyway? And for the base model, newer leaks add strength to reports that Apple's reduced dynamic island will be exclusive to iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. The base model might not even get the shrunken island. Same design, delayed launch, no modem upgrade at the same tier. Apple's basically written a letter that says, "Buy Pro, regards, Apple." It's not subtle. Here's where I land on all of this. The iPhone 18 Pro looks like one of the more quietly significant upgrades Apple has done in a few years. Not because of any one thing, but because the three things that actually affect how you use a phone every day, battery, connectivity, and camera flexibility, are all moving meaningfully forward at the same time. The variable aperture camera is real progress for anyone who actually shoots photos. The battery numbers are the best ever on an iPhone. And the C2 modem, if the satellite internet piece comes through as rumored, that's genuinely new behavior. Not a new spec, a new capability. The part that's harder to swallow is the pricing reality. The iPhone 18 Pro will likely start at $999 and the Pro Max at $1,199 for base storage, which sounds like the same price as before, until you realize the only iPhones available this fall are the ones starting at that number. There's no lower rung on the ladder anymore. Not until 2027. If you're already on a Pro from the last 2 years, you can probably wait and see what the actual reviews say in September before committing. Nothing here is so urgent it demands a day one purchase. If you're on an older iPhone or a non-Pro model and you've been waiting for an excuse to upgrade, the C2 modem alone might be that excuse, especially if satellite internet access becomes as useful in practice as it sounds on paper. And honestly, I'm more curious about something than I am opinionated about it right now. The modem is the upgrade everyone's sleeping on, but I want to know what's the one upgrade on this list that would actually make you buy? The camera, the battery, the satellite stuff, or something else entirely? Drop it in the comments, because I'm building something around the most popular answer, and you might see it in the next video. Peace.